Hi folks, Brian Kane from the pole barn of bad decisions and broken dreams where the coffee's always hot. Nope. Will it ever be hot? Will it ever stay hot? I don't know. But, in my humble opinion, you should go into your kitchen, make yourself up a fresh cup of hot coffee, sit back, put your feet up, relax, and enjoy the videos. Thanks, and have a good day. Hi folks, I'm Brian Kane, and welcome back to the pole barn of bad decisions and broken dreams where the coffee's always hot. Nope, still not hot. Still having problems with it. But we're going to keep making questionable choices on our coffee decisions and enjoy it anyways. Had to take a break from the pole barn and go into the dentist, get my teeth cleaned. And the dentist asked me why my teeth were a little bit stained. She asked me if I smoked or drank coffee. Well, I told her I drink coffee, but that kind of gave me an idea. No, that's not going to be a good idea. I think we're going to leave that right there and not even go any further. In the comment sections, let me know how you like your coffee. Do you like it muddy? Do you like it sweet? Do you like it really hot? Do you like it cold? Or even iced? Let me know in the comment sections how you like your coffee or any other uses that you use coffee for. You know, one thing that I do when I'm working outside is I take some dried coffee grounds. You can use used grounds, you can use new grounds, crappy coffee, good coffee. Crappy coffee is better because you don't want to waste good coffee. But if you put it in a little pan, maybe like a cut off piece of bottom of a soda pop can, and burn it, it actually deters mosquitoes from flying around you. They do not like the smell of burning coffee, and it really doesn't smell all that bad. So if you're outside and you want to get rid of mosquitoes and you're working outside, burn a little bit of coffee in a small metal pan, and that'll keep the mosquitoes away. Don't forget about Ask the Pyrenees. Ask the Pyrenees is the only segment on YouTube where my three fluffy mutts, George Paisley, Alfred Pennyworth, and Cody Barrow, answer your questions with sarcasm, wit, wisdom, and a whole lot of pure attitude. Expect answers with honest opinions, zero mechanical knowledge, and a whole lot of pure attitude that only my three fluffy Pyrenees can hand out. We might even hear from Guido. Ooh, we mentioned Guido again. Hopefully she won't get upset I'm mentioning her. She's become quite a celebrity on my videos. We did a small short video and it got thousands of views. Had a good time with that. But I think we're going to need to maybe warn the pups not to mess with her too much. She might get mad at them. George, I'm not too worried about. Guido is George's favorite person. When we go on walks or Guido comes over and says hello, she is just the happiest wiggly Pyrenees you have ever come across. In fact, we call her El Gato Jorge Cashmere, George Paisley the cat. And she will just wiggle around and go in between Denise's or Guido's legs. And she just loves Guido. So I don't think George is going to have a problem. But Alfred and Cody Barrow, we'll let them know not to be too hard on her. took a second and we worked on our list for everything that needs to be done to get the engine running. And what we've got here is we need to put the brake-in oil in, coolant, spin the oil pump up to make sure the engine is lubricated before we start that motor. We want to stab the distributor. We need to run plug wires to it. We want to pull our spark plugs, make sure the gaps are okay for an HEI distributor, because that's what we'll be installing, is an HEI distributor. And we've got to check our shifter operation. We have to put a temporary exhaust on the car. We have to clean up any electrical in here, any open wire ends or anything like that. We just want to roll them up and protect them from creating any shorts when we put that battery in for the first time. We've got a little bit more electrical. Well, actually, honestly, we probably have a lot of bit more electrical to do on the car before we can put her on the road and wire everything up. But yeah, some of this stuff has to be finished. We want to get an alternator belt tightened up and on, so that's running real good. We're going to finish up the temporary fuel system. We're going to wire the starter up. We got to put a battery, cables. We got to install the carb. I'm not so sure if we're going to install the linkage to the gas pedal or not yet, or if we're just going to use maybe the screw on the carburetor to turn that up and get it up to 2,000 RPMs. We got to run the motor for 20 minutes at 2,000 RPMs. So I'm thinking that might be the easiest way, is just use the screw on the carburetor linkage. We got to throw wheels and tires on the vehicle, and we got to spin the car 180 degrees. We got to move it over to that side of the shop, and we've got to back it out the door so the exhaust is running outside the door. Before I do that, we have to check the steering on it, make sure everything's tight there, and that isn't going to cause a problem or bind up or anything when we're doing it. So that's what we have. That is what is going to be on our next couple of videos. And getting all of this stuff done, getting it ready to move out that garage door that's behind you there and start this puppy up. So enjoy and like and subscribe if you have an opportunity. Otherwise, sit back, relax. We've got a little bit more content to provide for you here today, and we'll keep going and start working on the 1966 Chevy Nova. We're back in the barn on the 1966 Chevy Nova with a goal of running the engine and getting it broke in. We've got to run the engine for 20 minutes at 2,000 RPMs. And we need to accomplish a few goals here before we can do that. First off, electrically, we've got our wiring harness here, and we've got all of these wires. Some of them have terminals that are connected to it, and we don't want these terminals causing a dead short to ground and running into a problem. So we're going to get all of these tied up and out of the way, at least the ones we're not going to use, and we don't want them also flopping around and getting in the way of things while we're running the engine. So we'll get that taken care of. We have to install a battery. We have to have good grounds and good positive power to the engine and the starter. We also have to wire up a trigger wire for the starter so that we can start the car from outside the car, because we're not going to be using the ignition switch. We don't want to have to dive into the interior of the car and shut the engine off if something were to happen. So we're going to do everything on the outside here. So we're going to have to make some wiring harnesses temporary that we can hook up and we can put on the engine so that we can monitor those things within regards to temperature, pressure, and tachometer. We're also going to have to make a small rack or a stand that we can set outside the car so that we don't have to jump in and out of the interior to monitor our pressure, coolant, or our RPMs. So we'll also have to install the carburetor and put that, figure out a way to run that at 2,000 RPMs constantly without standing there and holding it. I don't want to stand there and hold it for 20 minutes. We might use the idle screw to bump that up to 2,000 RPMs. I'm not sure it's long enough, but we'll figure that out at that time. Let's see, what else have we got going on here? We have to go into Mechanical at that point, we've got to check all of our fluids. We got to make sure our transmission is full. We got to make sure the engine oil's full. We have to put wheels and tires on the Nova so that we can move it around. And I want to pick up a set of dollies, but I want United States or US made dollies. I don't want to buy a cheap set off the Jungle website and run into problems trying to move the car around here in the pole barn. So we'll get a set of dollies, we'll get the wheels and tires on it, put those on the dollies, and then we can spin it around, take it off the dollies, roll it out the back, roll it out the barn door, and run that outside without a problem. We've also got to get some exhaust on the car because we don't want the exhaust too loud, because we're going to be listening to the engine and make sure that it's not making any funny noises. We want to be able to shut down if we do hear a funny noise and react for that at that time. So sit back, relax, get yourself a cup of brake fluid, and enjoy the video. We'll get you into the engine bay here and show you what we're doing. We've got our wires tied up and out of the way here, so they're not going to cause a problem. We have our relay board installed, and if we need to pull power, we have a whole line of fuses here, and there'll be 9 fuses that we can use. I don't think we'll need that many, but we've got power to pull off of the 8 blue wires here if we need to pull power from anything. We'll run a power cord over from the battery, so this is powered up. We've got our ground stud here, and then we've got all of our wires just tied up and out of the engine rotation so that those can't get any problems. We've got our wiper wires over here, and then everything is just tied up and out of the way. We'll make those temporary harnesses to go in there and tie those up. Hi folks, I'm Brian Kane and welcome back to the pole barn of bad decisions and broken dreams where the coffee's always hot. Nope, still not hot. But we'll keep trying. So today we're back working on the 1966 Chevy Nova, and we're working on a temporary electrical system to get the straight 6 230 engine running. And we have our panel here that we're going to be using, and it doesn't look all that great. It's got some scratches in it, and we're going to make that look nice before we mount it to our plate. I'll get you in here and I'll show you everything and what we're going to do. But we've got our wiring set up here. We've got all of our wires in different colors that we're going to use. We have to wire up this panel, and we're going to have to put a oil pressure gauge. We're going to put a voltmeter in it. We're going to put a temperature gauge, and let's see, what was the other item? And a tachometer in here. So we'll get you in and we'll show you what's going on. Sit back, buckle up for this slow motion train wreck that we're working on, and enjoy the video. Okay, so first things up, we've got our makeshift dash panel, and I've had this dash panel laying around the garage for the last 20 years and have never used it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this on our electrical rack when we start the engine. And I'll get you over on the other side and show you what we've been doing there and get that taken care of. We're going to we've got some 600 grit sandpaper here, a sanding block, and some what's this, a scratch pad, a 00 scratch pad. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a brushed finish on this. It came shiny, and I started to do it a little bit, but we're going to do a brush finish on this so we can mount that onto our electrical system rack. We've got all of our wires sitting here and set up and ready to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you over to the bench. The two benches, I've got everything all set out that we're going to install on this, and I'll show you what's going on there. Here at bench number 1, we've got our tools. We've got our oil pressure gauge. We've got our water temperature gauge. We've got a voltmeter gauge. And we have a tachometer that are going to go in there. We've got our ignition switch. We've got our mounting hardware for the panel itself and a couple of switches there to put in. We've also got our starboard, which is where that is going to mount. I made this backing plate. I'll show you a video on me making that. It was pretty easy to make. So we've got some miscellaneous tools. We have our temporary fuel system all set up, and that is doing real well. So that is on its way to being completed. And then we'll come over to the other bench here where we've got our alternator. We're going to replace the 160 amp alternator that we've got on the car with this because we're not going to be running in any power to it. We just want to put this on and let the engine turn that. That's actually the adjustment that is going to be for tightening up the belt. Got our single barrel carburetor that has to be installed. We've got some miscellaneous wiring for our ignition panel. And then we've got all of our electrical equipment here. Some connectors that we're going to use. We've got some shrink wrap. Also some lugs here for power. And then all of our other electrical parts are in here in case we need that. So let's get into this and get that panel brushed so it has a brushed finish, and we'll get that taken care of and get that panel mounted on the panel that we made. Well, the puppies are telling me that the yard needs a little bit of maintenance, so we're going to take a break from the pole barn of bad decisions and take care of a little bit of maintenance and do a little bit of mowing for an hour or so. Get that all taken care of. It's getting a little tough to find the trots inside the tall grass and clover. So we'll get that taken care of and get back in the barn and start working on that 1966 Chevy Nova once again. You can see in the background here the Pups, George Paisley, Alfred Pennyworth, and Cody Beer Barrel coming in and taking a look, telling us how we're doing, being very supportive in our work out in the backyard. They love to be around when I'm working. The one thing that we want to make sure of is that we're keeping the dogs away from anything that might be dangerous for them. So I keep a close eye on them while I'm working in the backyard. We let the dogs kind of roam freely. I don't put any kind of pesticides or anything like that on our backyard. I don't spray dangerous chemicals on the house or on the deck or anything like that for fear that they might get in those and it may get them sick or be exposed to them for any length of time. So we don't do a lot of chemical spraying or anything like that in the backyard where the dogs can get into that. We try and use natural remedies for flea and tick control in the backyard and stuff like that. So enjoy the pups in the background and enjoy the video. Well, let's get back on the 1966 Chevy Nova. Sit back, relax. Hope you got your brake fluid. Maybe some starting fluid if it's early in the morning. Sit back, relax, enjoy the video of a little more work on the 1966 Chevy Nova. Okay, so we've got our panel here. We got a brushed fitting on that panel. We made this other panel out of just some sheet metal to install on our piece of starboard here, and that's what's going to sit on the table next to the car, with the panel sitting here and all of our gauges, switches, and indicator lights mounted onto that. So let's get into it and we'll get this mounted and start putting our equipment in. not a big fan of working in metal shavings under my feet or on my bench, especially when I'm doing electrical work. So I'm going to take just a quick second here and sweep up any metal shavings from that drilling we just did to drill out those holes for those switches and that indicator light. To install a small indicator light so that we know when power is present at the panel. And its wiring is, it's got a white wire coming out the back, but it doesn't have a ground wire hooked to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a little piece of black wire and we're going to connect a terminal to it and install that with the wire installed on it so that it has a provided ground. And we'll create a common ground here on our starboard and connect all of our grounds to one location. We've got our instruction sheet out here for our temperature gauge, and as you can see, we've got a purple wire, which is a zero function wire. And what that is when you turn the ignition source of power off, it will return the pointer back to zero. Otherwise, the gauge pointer stays in the same position as when the power is cut. We've got our white wire, which is going to a white light. We've got our black wire to go to ground. We've got an orange wire, which is our amber or orange light inside the gauge. We have our red wire, which is switched power. We've got one that isn't used. And then we have our optional ground, which is a black, and our signal input from the sender, which is a green. Now, both of our wiring harnesses have exactly the same wires on it. So what I've determined is that all the black wires, they can be put together. The orange wire, which is a light wire, and the orange wire from the second gauge, that can be put together. We can hook up our purple and our reds together because we do want a zero pointer function. We want that to return to zero when that power is cut. And that will be the way we wire up our temporary harnesses. We'll have one long harness, which is going to have our green wires in it, and one is going to go to the oil pressure sending unit. The other one is going to go to the temperature sender for those green wires. The tachometer also has a green wire, and it will go to our HEI distributor. We also have our power switch here, and what we'll do is we've got a ground on that, and that light will illuminate. This little red dot here will illuminate when that is turned on, and we've got a positive and negative, and that will provide power to our common stud. Now that I'm beginning to think about it, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to install another switch over on this side here, and I'm going to have that as a switched option for all of the lights instead of having them wired up so whenever we have power on that all the lights are on. We'll have the option to turn the lights off since we're not running with an alternator or a powered alternator. We aren't going to be charging the battery. We may put a battery charger on it for the 20 minutes when we're running it, but if we're doing this during the day, there's no reason to have the lights on these gauges. So we'll have another switch over here, and that will provide power to our light wires. And this light here will be the indicator, or the red light on that switch will be the indicators that power is present and the gauges are powered up. We have our second switch installed and ready to wire up into our wiring harnesses. And as you can see, here are all the wires that need to be organized and put into harnesses for the back of that temporary panel. Hi folks, Brian Kane here. We've got our dash panel all wired up and doing well, but we ran into a little bit of a problem. So let me get you in here and show you what's going on. We've got our couple of little leads made here to hook into our little 12 volt battery to provide power for testing. And what's happening is when I hook up to power, as you can see, the gauges just went and reset themselves, but my oil pressure gauge is pegging to 100, which would indicate some type of ground fault either in the wiring or in the gauge. So, well folks, that is going to complete this video on wiring the 1966 Chevy Nova. I want to thank everybody for staying till the end. I appreciate it. Appreciate all the comments that come in. If you see anything that doesn't look right or you don't agree with, definitely put that down in the comments. I'm always looking for constructive criticism on my videos. If you've got a way that I can make my videos better, that would be fantastic. Appreciate it. Put that in the comments. Please like and subscribe. That gives us the abilities to create more, the ability to create more videos that you can enjoy. Thanks, and you folks have a good day. I'd like to introduce a new segment, Ask the Pyrenees. Ask the Pyrenees, the only advice segment on YouTube where three great Pyrenees, George, Cody, and Alfred, answer your questions with sarcasm, wisdom, and judgment only giant fluffy dogs can provide. You ask the questions in our comments section about cars, tools, life, relationships, wiring disasters, or why your project car hates you. And I'll read the Pups' official responses during my videos. Expect brutally honest opinions, zero mechanical knowledge, and a whole lot of attitude.